What is a surprisingly easy way to accidentally die? Engulfment. Standing on top of a large pile of anything seems so innocent. Until a tiny bit shifts and suddenly you're drowning in grain sand rocks. Falling to death. I was hiking at Grand Canyon once at one of the easy trails. I was surprised at how some of these walkways had no barriers to block you from a potentially lethal fall. Again, this trail was advertised as easy. People always assume that somebody who falls to their death at a hike was posing for a dangerous photo, but I always wonder if they just got into a tired haze at the wrong moment and took a misstep. Simple complacency on the job site. Do not take for granted that the ladder, sawhorse, gantry, whatever that you've used for years, is in the same shape it was yesterday. Most especially in a shared workplace. My cousin got up in the night to use the toilet. Tripped in the dark, hit her head, went back to bed and never woke up. Why do you choose to live? If you choose to live now, you can always change your mind later. If you choose not to, game over. No changing your mind then. I'll die one day anyway. Might as well enjoy what I can, while I can. The little joys in everyday life make it worth it. There are days where everything is all wrong, but I've gotten through them before and I remind myself that I am strong enough to do it again. I've been battling depression for the past 10 years. At any moment it could take over and that would be the end. I've attempted suicide quite a bit and was in and out of mental hospitals too. But why do I choose to live, honestly? Because when I'm in those moments I remember the smell of rain, the sound of a good song, my mother's face at my funeral, my niece growing up without an uncle, the sunset, how I've accomplished dreams and changed my life. Deep down I'm in love with life, and I'm also in love with death. I haven't tried to kill myself in over a year, and I think that's partly to do with the fact I've turned into a person I like to be around. I guess I'm afraid of death. I don't know what will happen if I'm just nothing. I'm in mental anguish every day, but I don't really want to take my own life. What would happen if I found a boyfriend, got married, had kids and grandkids, and got to retire with the one I love and travel? What would happen if I didn't see my friends or family again? How would they feel? What would happen if happiness came back? This is what keeps me going. I felt suicidal and still do at times, even after being in the psych ward and getting therapy, but I'm a chicken when it comes to killing myself. Living gives you the chance for things to change. Even if it's the most minuscule chance, living gives us the chance to believe that it can be better. More often than not, things will be better. I've struggled more times than I care to admit. But I cannot possibly state how thankful I am that I held on to hope. What's the worst pain you have personally experienced? Late to the game, but I'll throw it out anyway. Worst pain was post-operative, having my gallbladder removed. During the surgery the doctor nicked my small intestine and failed to notice. I remember post-op telling the nurse something wasn't right and I couldn't urinate. Straight cathed me and sent me home. I was on my couch telling my wife that the pain was worse than I had ever experienced. Went back to the hospital via ambulance and spent the next 24 hours being ignored, thinking I was looking for pain meds. Septic shock, 9 surgeries, and near total organ shutdown. I survived with an ileostomy. ICU, hospital and rehab total just shy of 3 months. Bonus pain would be the pancreatitis that led me to the gallbladder surgery. Edit to add, as I expected this to get buried and answer some questions. Yes, there was a settlement made between the surgeon, hospital, and myself. State laws make it difficult to get to a jury trial, so we decided to accept a settlement. Thankfully my ileostomy was able to be reversed after just over a year. Minimal long-term complications. Yes, pancreatitis sucks nuts. That would have totally been my answer prior to this experience. A long-term constipation that finally decided it was time to go. You know those stomach cramps you get when you have bowel/stomach problems? Okay, so, kick the pain up by about 4 times and make it last an entire day. For most of the day nothing came out and I barely felt anything move. I tried laying down, chugging water, exercising, etc. Basically everything you're supposed to do short of laxatives to help initiate a bowel movement. Just this constant pain that would randomly get really sharp like I was getting stabbed for a minute at a time and make me feel like I needed to throw up. Got to a point I passed out from exhaustion at one point. Finally, near the end of the day the main blockage finally passed and everything just flowed out. Cannot properly articulate how much relief I felt once it was over. Best way I can describe the whole thing is trying to pass a brick followed by gravel. Just an overall terrible experience. I collided head to head going for a ball in the air in a soccer tournament in college. Fractured skull, solid concussion, but the worst was hours later when an epidural hematoma began to develop between my skull and the lining around my brain. It felt like someone slowly dragging a knife along my forehead. Worst pain I've ever felt by a long shot. Doctor said that was the blood having nowhere to go and the pressure tearing the lining away from the skull to create space. For anyone wondering, I was rushed to surgery. They called a brain surgeon from home cause at this point it was like 9 p.m., sawed off a flap of my skull, evacuated the blood, and now I've got some titanium additions to my skull. Pretty metal. Pun intended. For anyone wondering, I was rushed to surgery. They called a brain surgeon from home cause at this point it was like 9 p.m., sawed off a flap of my skull, evacuated the blood, and now I've got some titanium additions to my skull. Pretty metal. Pun intended. So I had been getting UTI after UTI again and again for almost 2 years. So my brain kinda started to tune out the pain. You can see where this is going, lol. It was New Year's, about 1 a.m., and I was laying down going to sleep, and my lower back kind of hurt. The next time I woke up I was sobbing my eyes out in so much pain. I ended up throwing up just because the pain was so bad. What phrase do you absolutely hate? I don't want to hear excuses. This is usually said by a manager who asked for reasons why something wasn't done, is given a perfectly reasonable explanation, and doesn't want to address the underlying issues behind that explanation. My boss told me stop defending yourself when he realized that I was working from home from someone else's home for the day without telling him that I wasn't in my own house. I feel for you. This is just one of many reasons why my boss doesn't know I'm working from home in Hawaii right now. Hawaii? Can I come? Cheaters never prosper. That phrase is so inaccurate today. Or hard work leads to success. Some of the most hard-working people I met have been poor for decades. We rarely hear the stories of people who worked their butt off but for whatever reason failed to succeed. Survivor bias is a real thing. You can see it on Reddit occasionally. There are people who kept moving up the ladder financially and are extremely disdainful to anyone else not able or willing to do the same. This expectation, work your ass off in a starting position so your boss notices and might give you a promotion. Reality, boss notices, thanks you for your hard work, but you do so much for so little in your current position that they don't want to have to replace you in that role, thus you're stuck there, pal. Do what you love and the money will follow. I like sitting on my ass and watching TV, but that ain't paying the bills. Yeah, this is bollocks. I love the gym, my passion is strength and fitness. Making a salary that even remotely acceptable in that industry is almost impossible. Instead I do a well-paid job, from home, with flexibility in a different industry, and I can then buy all the gym equipment I want and use it when I want. Instead I do a well-paid job, from home, with flexibility in a different industry, and I can then buy all the gym equipment I want and use it when I want. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Sometimes it's true. Other times what doesn't kill you leaves you paralyzed and traumatized. It's all in your head. I could care less. Other people have it worse. Thank you for invalidating my struggle. They're such a insert zodiac sign, that is so like them. Money doesn't buy happiness.